Good luck.
Americans now spend more money each year on casino gambling than they do on movie tickets, sporting events, and music purchases combined. Now, in the past 40 years, casino gambling has become more popular throughout the United States. And when people think of gambling, they often think of a fun and exciting way to win money and socialize, and it can be fun, but if you don't know what you're doing, it can be very dangerous at the same time. So I'm going to give you a quick overview on gambling and then give you reasons why gambling can be dangerous. So for a quick overview, when asked, 86% of Americans said that they have gambled at least once in their life, which is a pretty big number considering that $37 billion are spent annually at casinos. And as you look at this graph, on the far left is the gambling, and as you move toward the graph for sporting events, movie tickets, and music purchases, the numbers don't even come close to gambling. So that's how big it has become in the United States. And it has become big, and although people find themselves getting far too deep in gambling. So much like drug use and alcohol use, gambling can be very addictive. In fact, 3 to 4 million Americans have a gambling disorder, which is around 1 to 2% of the population, which is not a lot, but still enough to be very concerned about. And gambling is known as the hidden addiction, because with drug and alcohol use, you can tell when someone's been using drugs and alcohol based on slurred speech or stumbling, physical attributes, things like that. But with gambling, there's no physical signs of use, so it can be very dangerous in that sense. And much like drug and alcohol addictions, there are phases to gambling addictions, and as you get deeper and deeper into those phases, it becomes much more life-threatening, as you'll find out later. So in the first phase, we have the winning phase, which is just what it sounds like. You experience consistent winnings, or you hit a jackpot and you just get a feeling of a high, and you feel like you're not going to lose, you're on top of the world, so you just keep betting and betting until eventually you start losing money, which brings us to the second phase, which is the losing phase. Now in the losing phase, it's the exact opposite of the first one. You keep losing money and you keep betting and digging yourself deeper and deeper into a hole, where eventually you'll move to the third phase, which is the desperation phase. Now in the desperation phase, you desperately want to get back to where you started, so you'll max out credit cards, you'll bet all your money, even take out loans, just to try to break even again. And when you keep on losing, you're going to end up losing all your money, you can lose your friends and family, and after people do that, they move on to the final stage, which is the hopeless stage. Now in the hopeless stage, people question themselves, they've hurt many people, and they start to ask themselves, do I really want to live? They don't care if they live or die anymore. And in this stage is when people start to contemplate suicide. As a matter of fact, 1 in 5 Americans with a gambling disorder will attempt suicide at some point in their lives. And in the case of Scott Stevens, he saw his life go from completely normal to that of the final stage of an addict. So Scott Stevens was a successful businessman. He was the chief operating officer of his company. He had a wife and 3 daughters and never gambled until he went down to Las Vegas for a business trip. He went to the casino, he won a jackpot and became addicted immediately. Well, as soon as he came home, he became a regular at their local casino, where he started losing money. And after he lost money and he moved to the desperation phase, he started stealing money from his company. Well, after someone finally decided that to check into that, and they caught on to him, they found out that he had stolen more than $4 million from his company to cover his gambling expenses. Needless to say, he was fired, but he continued gambling after that 5 to 6 times a week. He would take money out of his 401k, out of his daughter's college fund, and he lost it all. Well, after he finally realized he had a problem and he was hurting his family, he wrote a letter to his wife. He texted her, said, "I love you." He texted his daughters, told him he loved them, and committed suicide later that day. So this is an extreme example of how gambling can turn your life around really quick. So in conclusion, gambling can be a fun and exciting way to win money and kind of socialize if you know what you're doing. But if you don't, it can be very dangerous and it can really hurt your life, as we saw with Scott. Being aware and educated, though, can help you avoid these problems but still gamble while having fun at the same time. So by being educated and being aware of the dangers of gambling, you can still have fun and gamble without becoming an addict.